What's good? What's good? What's good, beautiful people? This is your guy, Tone DeShields II from Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. Super grateful for you guys being here. If you're here for a short time or a long time, make sure you smash that like button anyway, man. A lot of things have been going on in the football world. A lot of things have been going on with your Philadelphia Eagles. And it's really exciting, actually. It's really exciting to think about because we thought this offseason was going to go an entirely different direction. You know, a lot of people kept saying the Eagles have 18 free agents. What are they going to do? This defense is going to look totally different next year in 2023. What are they going to do? And things are starting to take shape. And, we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about free agency and the way it's played out the past several days. We're going to talk about some players that are still in limbo. We're also going to talk about CJ Gardner-Johnson's free agent market today, because I think that's something that really deserves a lot of attention. And I really want to approach it from an angle that I haven't really heard it discussed from. And on top of that, I want to just touch base with you guys and find out how you guys are feeling about your Philadelphia Eagles right now on March 17th, a Friday. So it means a lot to me for you guys coming here, smashing that like button. It means a lot when you guys subscribe to the content. Shout out to my man, Philly the podcast, for always locking in on the content, always supporting me. It means a lot. Work is always work. Work is always picking up. I'm always busy, man. Y'all see me grinding over there at Jacob Sports, trying to, earn my keep and do my thing and continue to grow my skill set. So I appreciate you guys always locking in wherever I am. I really do appreciate that love and support that you guys always provide to the kid. So let's start with free agency. Let's start with the gains and the losses, right? Like I said, the Eagles were entering free agency. We're entering free agency with about 18 free agents, and a lot of people thought there was no way the Eagles are going to be able to compete the following season, especially if they can't bring back key guys, right? But, there are some names that I was surprised that the Philadelphia Eagles were able to bring back, right? But I want to start with the losses. Let's start there. Let's start with who the Philadelphia Eagles lost. And again, this has been tracked all throughout the week. But I really didn't want to come out with a live stream earlier in the week because I really wanted to let this entire free agency week just fly by and just see how things laid out, see how things played out, as a matter of fact. And I really wanted to be able to give you guys a full palette of content to bite into come Friday. So again, I'm glad you guys are here. Smash that like button. Now, let's start with the Philadelphia Eagles losses. People they've lost in free agency. They lost Miles Sanders to the Carolina Panthers. I think he signed like a 4-year deal at about $6.5 million a season. That's like a $24-25 million deal. I think he got maybe a 4-year, $26 million deal. He made out well. So congratulations to Miles Sanders for securing the bag with the Carolina Panthers. I think that's a pretty favorable deal for him. And I think he's with a pretty good organization. I like him with the Carolina Panthers. TJ Edwards, lost him to the Chicago Bears. He signed a 3-year, $19.5 million deal. That's about $6.5 million as well per season. Not bad for TJ Edwards, especially when he's from the area of Chicago. I think he's from about maybe 20 or 30 miles out from Chicago. So he's from the Illinois area. So shout out to him for being able to take care of his family, receiving his first major payday. Goes a long way. Now, also, the Eagles have lost Javon Hargrave. They lost Javon Hargrave. I'm not surprised about that. That was pretty clear. And then even with TJ Edwards, I thought they had a chance of bringing him back. But when I saw how that played out, that completely shocked me. I felt like the number he got from the Bears, he could have got from the Eagles. But that just speaks to how the Philadelphia Eagles, how Howie Roseman views the linebacker position. They haven't valued it in quite some time, and they aren't showing any signs of valuing it in the now and or near future. But like I said, Javon Hargrave, D-tackle, lost him to the San Francisco 49ers. He signed a major deal. I think he signed, a 3-year or 4-year deal with the 49ers. They're giving him about 44 million guaranteed or something like that. And I'm trying to remember. I really can't remember, but regardless, Javon got a really big payday from the San Francisco 49ers. And I expected him to be gone. I expected his market to be tremendous, right? On top of that, you actually reminded me, Castro. I appreciate that. I forgot about Andre Dillard. I'm gonna get to that too. But yeah, losing Javon Hargrave is big. But when you think about the money he got, I'm not even mad at him. I'm not mad at the Eagles for not pulling the trigger on that deal. That's just too much money, in my opinion, for a D tackle who's 30. So again, we don't know if Javon Hargrave's best years are behind him or in front of him, but we do know he is in his prime. Can he get better from what he did with the Philadelphia Eagles? I don't know. He had a career year all across the board. So I don't know. I don't know if Javon Hargrave can continue to take his game to another level. But playing next to Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, guys like Fred Warner, playing with those kind of guys, I mean, you better take advantage. You better take advantage with guys double teaming Nick Bosa. Javon Hargrave better have a field day. That's the way I see it. They also lost Marcus Epps to the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders gave Marcus Epps a 2-year, $12 million deal. That's basically a $6 million annual average. I like that for Marcus Epps. Congratulations to Marcus Epps for getting a really solid contract. I don't know what the Philadelphia Eagles offered him, but the Raiders, I think that's a pretty good number for Marcus Epps. 2 years, $12 million. I think he got about $7 million guaranteed or something like that, or half the contract was guaranteed, if I'm not mistaken. So shout out to Marcus Epps for coming up on basically $6 to $8 million guaranteed. Shout out to him, man. I'm happy for him. I wish we could have brought him back, but overall, I don't think that's the biggest loss. We lost Kaiser White as well. Kaiser White signed to the Arizona Cardinals. I think he signed a 2-year deal at $11 million. That's $5.5 million a season. So he decided to join Jonathan Gannon. He had his best year in his career under Jonathan Gannon, so it was no surprise why he would want to play under him. It makes a lot of sense. Kaiser White gave us a very solid season during that Super Bowl run. There were moments where you kind of questioned if he knew what he was doing out there, but overall, I think Kaiser White gave us a pretty decent season, along with those other guys, like I mentioned, CJ Edwards, Marcus Epps, so on and so forth. The Eagles developed Marcus Epps. They developed TJ Edwards. So I was kind of surprised they didn't want to bring those guys back. But again, I can't get mad at those guys for going where the money was. I'm not mad. I'm not mad at guys like TJ, Epps, Kaiser going to get their money. I'm just not mad at it at all. I'm always pro player when it comes to getting their money. I'm never going to argue against a player fighting for the most money he can get. Never against that. But I'm also not going to get mad at the organization for not wanting to play ball. You know what I mean? I don't get, it's business at the end of the day. And I can't take any of this personal because it's not my money. Sure, I'm a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles. I want them to make the best decisions in the best interest of the team. And I also you fall in love with players a little bit. You like these guys and you buy their memorabilia, you buy their jerseys, you buy the paraphernalia, all that kind of stuff. You buy all that and you support the team. You buy tickets to the games. You argue for guys. You debate for guys. You campaign for guys. And at the end of the day, it's a business, and you got to remind yourself that first and foremost, the business comes first more than anything. So let's transition. The Eagles also lost Andre Dillard. Andre Dillard, I think that's a key loss in terms of depth. But when you think about why Andre Dillard was brought to Philadelphia, his career has kind of been a disappointment. He's battled injuries. He's battled. He's had to deal with positional battles. He's battled, some anxiety, some depression, so on and so forth. He had to have a couple come to Jesus moments. He had to have a lot of self-reflection. He had to get stronger. So being the first round pick and not being able to resign him, that's kind of a failure on Howie's part. You draft a guy to be a starting left tackle. He doesn't even get close to that, really. He gets beat out by a 7th rounder. That's a failure for a first round draft pick. That's just the reality of it. But Andre Dillard got paid from the Tennessee Titans. A solid contract for him. We'll see if he can be a starting left tackle for a 17-game span. So congratulations to him for getting money and also getting a fresh start. That's probably what he needed. And the Eagles also lost Gardner Minshew to the Colts. I think he signed a 1-year, $3.5 million deal. So congratulations to Gardner Minshew for bringing in the big bucks. At the end of the day, we got to keep in mind that 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, that's a lot of money to the average Joe. You know what I mean? If I ever managed to sign a 1-year deal in the NFL worth 3 million guaranteed, I'm gonna be okay. So shout out to those guys, man, for being able to take care of their families, being able to maximize the seasons they had in 2022. I'm happy for those guys, and you can't really ask for anything more than what they provided. Now, let's go to the gains. Let's go to the people that the Philadelphia Eagles were able to bring in and or retain. Because remember, a lot of people doubted Howie Roseman. A lot of people were saying, oh my God, the Eagles are going to implode. How can they keep this team together? 18 free agents is no way. No team can survive that. Right? That was what they said. But let's talk about what is. Let's talk about what is. And the fact of the matter is, it started with bringing back Brandon Graham. The Eagles managed to bring back defensive end Brandon Graham on a 1-year deal worth $6 million. I like that. Brandon Graham came off of a career year in terms of sacks. And on top of that, he was given limited snaps. I think he only played about maybe 30 to 40% of the snaps throughout the entire season or on any given Sunday. So he maximized his production in limited reps. And that's kind of where he is right now in his career. They also were able to bring back Brett Toth, a right tackle. That's a depth piece. 1 year, $1.1 million. We'll see where that goes. They need the depth on the offensive line, especially after losing Andre Dillard. On top of that, Jason Kelce, the legend, the future Hall of Famer, is coming back for another season. 1 year, $14.25 million. I like that. I like it. Some people say, well, you got Cam Jurgens waiting in the rafters. He has to get on the field at some point, right? He has to get on the field. Why'd you draft the guy if you're not going to play him? Well, it's a luxury to have a guy like Cam Jurgens. It's a luxury to have a guy like Jason Kelce still playing at an all-pro level at the age of, 34, 35, something like that. So I'm never going to be mad at Jason Kelce for coming back. As long as he's playing at a Pro Bowl, all-pro level, he could continue. I don't care if he's 40. If he's still getting Pro Bowls and all-pros at age 40, come on back, son. Come on down. That's the reality for me. Cam Jurgens, most likely he'll play right guard, especially if Isaac Seumalo doesn't come back. Right now, Isaac Samalu's market isn't looking the way anybody thought it would, but we're going to talk about that later on in the show when we get into the CJ Gardner-Johnson contract situation, when we get into his free agency market as well, because there are two players whose market isn't really panning out the way they thought or the way we thought, CJ Gardner-Johnson and Isaac Seumalo. Again, we're going to get into all of that later on in the show, but I want to really recap the free agent losses and acquisitions. So I mentioned Jason Kelce coming back on a 1-year deal, $14.25 million. He got a little pay bump. Listen, coming off an all-pro season, you better give him a little pay bump. Boston Scott, running back, 1 year, $2 million deal. Solid. Boston Scott is a piece that, you know what? Boston Scott is like that. It's like that trusty screwdriver. He's like that. He's like that trusty tool that always works. You know, your wife been telling you to move on from it. You had it for years, and she's been trying to buy you a new toolkit, but he's that trusty toolkit. He's that old trusty screwdriver that never fails you. He's that trusty hammer that never fails you when you need him most, right? And then you got James Bradberry. Now, this one was a shocker to me, I'll be honest. When the Eagles decided to bring back, or when they found out they were able to bring back James Bradberry, that shocked me a little bit. Because I know they told James Bradberry, when you hit the market, please keep us in the loop on what teams are offering you, because we want you back here. But we want to know if we can match it or even beat what they're trying to offer you. And I've got a lot of respect. I got a lot of respect for James Bradberry for doing good business, right? I got a lot of respect for James Bradberry's representation for doing good business, because ultimately James Bradberry, he liked his time in Philadelphia. He had a career year. He had a career year in Philadelphia, and he understands that. He understands that he has most success as a player and from a team perspective. And why would he want to lose that? He sees where this team is trending towards. He sees a guy like Jalen Hurts' is upside. He understands that playing next to guys like Darius Slay and having that pass rush is the best thing for him. And he also understands that schematically, this was the best situation for him that he's ever experienced in a long time. So he knew that Philadelphia was somewhere he wanted to be, but the number had to make sense. And also, again, we got to keep this in mind as well. The franchise tag period had passed, and Howie Roseman decided not to franchise tag CJ Gardner-Johnson, nor did he decide to franchise tag James Bradberry. And remember, the franchise tag for the safety position was $14.1 million, if I'm not mistaken. And the franchise tag for the corner position was about $18 million or $17 million, if I'm not mistaken. So Howie Roseman gambled. Let's be honest. He gambled. He gambled on CJ Gardner-Johnson's market, and he gambled on James Bradberry's market. But let's focus on James Bradberry's market right now. Like I said, we're going to get into CJ later on in the show. Make sure you guys smash that like button. We got about 27 people on the live stream. I appreciate y'all so much for locking in on the content. It means a lot to me. So, James Bradberry, Howie Roseman decided not to franchise tag him when he could have. But remember, he's 29 years old. So, franchise tagging a 29-year-old corner, when at that point you got to pay him market value with the franchise tag, Howie Roseman is not comfortable with that. So he bets on himself. He bets on the market panning out the way he sees fit. He let the market do the work for him instead of him trying to negotiate with James Bradberry or him franchise tagging him and putting the cart before the horse. He allowed the market to dictate James Bradberry's value. On top of that, remember, at the time, they were dealing with a $17 million Darius Slay salary at the time. We're going to get into Darius Slay's situation. But at the time, they were dealing with the Darius Slay $17 million salary. So they didn't want to pay big money to James Bradberry and Darius Slay at the same time. Basically, they didn't want to pay deals that weren't compromising. So they allowed the market to dictate Bradberry's value. So at that point, once the market played out the way it did, because James Bradberry wasn't a day one signing in free agency. So think about it like this. James Bradberry, he signs a 3-year deal worth a grand total of $38 million plus $6 million in incentives. So you can make an argument that he signed a 3-year, $44 million deal, which includes $6 million in incentives. So if James Bradberry hits all his incentives and he gets the full length of the contract, he's averaging about $14.6 million a year. But he also got $20 million guaranteed. So that implies the Philadelphia Eagles can get out of this contract after year 2 if they want to. They can even get out of it after year 1. But most likely, if they want to, they can get out of it out of year 2. And again, at full value of the contract, with the contract at full value, again, with incentives, he'll be averaging $14.6 million a year, salary-wise. That's under the franchise tag. That's under market value. You follow me here? So Howie Roseman made out okay with James Bradberry. When the season starts, he'll be 30. When the contract ends, he'll be 33. So that's a pretty good contract to get in and out of at the perfect time. And Howie Roseman has just been so calculated, so shrewd, so advantageous when it comes to manipulating the cap, when it comes to utilizing the media, the PR, and paying attention to the way the market is falling. He took some gambles, and he gambled right thus far. He gambled on James Bradberry's market. He made out all right with that. Whatever, because I'm pretty sure James Bradberry got some offers from other teams. I think he got a couple offers that was a little bit more than Philadelphia as well. But again, when you start to grow roots somewhere and it's beneficial to your career and to your play, and also the personnel, it makes it easier for you to make your decision. Like, I'm pretty sure there was a team that wasn't as good offering Bradberry maybe 15 or 16 million a year, right? Something like that. But he decided to stay with Philadelphia. Again, Howie Roseman allowed the market. He allowed the market to dictate how this thing was going to go. And he's been gambling right thus far. Let's move on from James Bradberry. The Eagles decided to bring in running back Rashaad Penny Rashaad Penny, running back on a 1-year deal worth $1.35 million, up to $2 million, I believe, in incentives. If he hits all his incentives, he can get up to $2 million. Now, this move was interesting to me because you lose Miles Sanders to the Carolina Panthers. You decided that you didn't want to pay big money to Miles Sanders, which I totally understand. I'm not one to want to. I don't want to pay big money to running backs. This is not my forte either. I don't believe in that either. So you bring in Rashaad Penny on a 1-year deal, $1.35 million, bare minimum, basically. He's a very talented running back. He's a very, very talented running back, but his health is the main concern. And that's something that's hard for me to get over. Now, I will say this, though. If there's any organization that he wanted to come to see if he can get another crack at his career, it would be Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Eagles were the most healthy team heading into the playoffs. They were the most healthy team, arguably, all year. Their training staff, the way they've handled their players in the offseason through OTAs, training camp, mini camp, during practice sessions, walkthroughs, the way the Eagles have handled their players in the 2022 season, or at least since Nick Sirianni's tenure, they've been doing a good job of keeping guys healthy. So I think that was a strong incentive for Rashaad Penny, not only to go to an organization that has winning ways, a winning culture with a quarterback that's trending up, a team that was just in the Super Bowl with the best offensive line in football. He also was able to go to an organization that has one of the best athletic training staffs, one of the best strength and conditioning staffs in the NFL. That was a big deal, if you ask me. I was watching his press conference last night, and he just continued to mention the fact that coming here is a fresh start for him. It's a refresh. It's another chance at his career. It's another chance to rewrite his narrative, so on and so forth. So again, when it comes to Rashaad Penny, it's not about his talent, right? It's not about Rashaad Penny's talent. It's about his health. Because we've seen when Rashaad Penny's on the field, he is a battering ram. He is someone that's hard to defend. He's a slasher. You know what I'm saying? He's a very decisive runner, very north-south. Doesn't waste too much time dancing in the backfield like a Miles Sanders does, right? And I'm not trying to slight Miles Sanders, but the reality is Miles Sanders has a running style that isn't necessarily conducive to what Nick Sirianni wants to get done. Sometimes he gets a little too dancey in the backfield and he can get caught up looking east and west instead of focus on being north and south. So Rashaad Penny, a low risk, high reward type of situation. We're going to see how that pans out. Next, they managed to bring back the legend, Fletcher Cox, on a 1-year, $10 million deal. Now, Fletcher Cox is coming off of a pretty solid season, also in limited reps, because, again, he's a guy that's getting older. He's still productive. I think he gave you, 7 sacks in 2022? That's great production for a D tackle that's, 33, 34 years old, something like that. And then BG, I think he's 36, 35. So, again, you think about all of that. I like that you were able to bring back Brandon Graham. I like that you were able to bring back Jason Kelsey. I like that you were able to bring back Fletcher Cox. All those guys are legends in their own right. All those guys have the utmost respect in the locker room. And you need guys like that in there. You need guys that are the foundation, that are the studs to your team culture. And also they're productive players. And also, I believe they're great teaching tools for guys like Jordan Davis. They're great teaching tools for guys like Josh Sweat and Marlon Tuipulotu, Milton Williams, and whoever they go and get in the draft on the defensive line. Having guys like that to continue to affirm and continue to embed your culture, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And I don't take that lightly. And I think Fletcher Cox also helps Jordan Davis in this way. Jordan Davis is a zero tech. He's zero technique. You know what I mean? He's not a 3 tech. He's not a 4-eye. That's more so what Fletcher Cox does. That's more so what Ndamukong Suh did. You know what I'm saying? But Linval Joseph and Jordan Davis, those guys are zero techs. Those guys are one techniques. You follow me here? So a lot of people get on Jordan Davis about not being productive when it comes to sacks, but that's not really his style. That's not really why he was brought in there. He was brought up to take up space. But with his athleticism, when he gets with that level of athleticism, I don't see why he can't be a good pass rusher. I don't see why he can't expand his repertoire. And this is the part of loving the game and falling in love with your craft that I want Jordan Davis to get familiar with. Just because you were graded out as a zero technique doesn't mean it's all you can be. You follow me here? So I think it's important for Fletcher Cox to be here to be able to show Jordan Davis that you can take your game to another level. This is how you last in the NFL. This is how you take care of your body. This is how you keep a job. So we'll see if Jordan Davis is able to take his game to another level by way of having Fletcher Cox in the building, right? We'll see if Milton Williams is able to take his game to another level. This is a big year for Milton. I think Milton Williams is going to get a lot of starting reps this year. So we'll see how that pans out. Fletcher Cox, him coming back on a 1 year, $10 million deal, really huge. Really huge. I appreciate y'all, man, for being here. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Continue to stay engaged. We're going up right now. I'm eventually going to get to your live chats. I know I haven't read any of them, but I appreciate all you guys for being here. I want to get through my topics, and then we're going to, flush things out, and I want to pick y'all brain about some things, right? But ultimately, I want to get through these topics first because there's some things that I really want to adjust with you guys, and I really want to pick your brain. When we get to that CJ Gardner-Johnson conversation, that's when I really want you guys to chime in because I think that's probably the most controversial conversation that we're going to have here today. As we move forward, Darius Slay. Darius Slay's situation is fascinating because Darius Slay's situation had a lot of drama attached to it when it really didn't have to. I personally believe Darius Slay was doing a little too much tweeting throughout his contract debacle. I'm not one of those people that tells players to shut up and dribble or shut up and play. That's not my style. I believe players should exercise their right to speak. But when you're in the middle of business, when you're dealing with business, I'm not talking about just giving your opinion on a current event. I'm not talking about giving your opinion on politics. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you're handling your business. I was always taught the first person to talk in negotiations loses. And remember, you guys, when it came to Darius Slay's contract negotiations, this wasn't about talent. This wasn't about that. Darius Slay is still a top 10 corner in the NFL. There aren't many number one bona fide corners in the league. There are a lot of corners who are number twos, number threes, playing the number one spot because that's all the team can afford. But there aren't many number one bona fide corners in the NFL. There aren't many. Just because there's 32 teams in the NFL doesn't mean there's 32 locked down number one bona fide corners in the league, right? Just because there's 32 teams in the NFL doesn't mean there are 32 starting caliber quarterbacks in the NFL. You follow me? So Darius Slay, when it came to his negotiations, this wasn't about talent. This wasn't about talent, you guys. This was about the financials. This was about business, the logistics, the numbers, right? And let's keep in mind, at the time, Darius Slay was entering the final year of his deal. He would be 32 years old, and he would be due $17 million. Remind you, all his guaranteed money was gone. So basically, the Eagles wanted to restructure that 1 year, $17 million deal. They didn't feel comfortable paying $17 million to a 32-year-old corner. They didn't feel comfortable doing that. Neither would I. I don't care how productive you think you are, right? I don't feel comfortable paying $17 million to a 32-year-old cornerback. I just didn't. And again, I'm never going to crap on Darius Slay. I know a lot of people jumped out the window on Darius Slay when he said he was potentially leaving. A lot of y'all jumped out the window on Darius Slay. A lot of y'all did. But we're not going to get into that. The bottom line is I felt like Darius Slay was doing a little too much tweeting, which I personally believe was affecting his business dealings, because now you're allowing people to you're giving too much access now. I know you have your podcast, which I really enjoy, by the way. I'm a real big fan of that. But I personally felt like when it came to the business, it would have been imperative for Darius Slay to just allow hearsay to be hearsay, right? And let me remind you guys, these organizations have top-notch, world-class PR teams. When it comes to business and negotiating money, they will utilize the media and their PR team to the fullest to get the number they want to get. If that means baiting a player to jumping out the window and lashing out on social media so they can lower that person's value and get them at a lower number, they will do that. A team always wants, a business or organization is always about saving money. They want to make money and they want to save money. It's a business. Organizations want to make money and they want to save money. And they want to be able to spend the least amount of money possible to get the job done while still maintaining the quality of product or the quality of production or the quality of work. It's business. If an organization can pay you $5 million to do a job, and they can pay someone younger, someone maybe a little bit more efficient at $3 million, they'll do that. They'll say, forget your experience. We'll pay somebody maybe that's just as good at the job. Maybe don't have your experience, but we'll pay them less. A job is an organization, a company, an incorporation. They're always about trying to save money and make money. That's what it's all about. So when it came to Darius Slay, when him doing all that tweeting, it complicated things and it gave people too much access and it made his situation a little bit more messy than it had to be. So the Eagles said, you know what? Okay, you don't want to restructure your contract with us? No problem. You have permission to go seek a trade, because we're not paying you $17 million this year. That's not what's going to happen. We're not paying you $17 million the way you think, because we need some cap relief. And it's not like we don't want you here, but man, if you're not willing to work with us, something got to give. So they gave him permission to go find a trade. And you know what happened? They couldn't find one. Or even if they did, the Eagles weren't going to pull the trigger. You want to know why? Because the way they saw it, they said, well, based off what we found, based off of the trade suitors you found, I don't like the return on my investment. I don't like that. I don't like the fact that I may get only a 5th or 6th round pick for you. Let me put it in perspective. Let me put it in perspective for you guys, right? Stephon Gilmore, cornerback for the Colts, got traded to the Dallas Cowboys for a 5th round pick, a 5th round compensatory pick at that. Remind you, Stephon Gilmore, his contract has about a $7 million, $8 million value. And the Colts were able to trade him for a 5th. You hear me? So, knowing what you know about Stephon Gilmore's contract and what the Cowboys gave up to get him, which is a 5th round pick, what do you think Darius Slay's trade market was? Remind you, Darius Slay, Stephon Gilmore, they both were 32 years old, or both are 32 years old. Stephon Gilmore ain't no slouch. He's former defensive player of the year, multiple All-Pros. He's the real deal, just how Darius Slay's the real deal. But Darius Slay's contract weighed on you a little bit more. Stephon Gilmore's contract, you can finesse that. So when you put all of that in consideration, why would an organization trade for Darius Slay? Or if they did, why would they want to give up lucrative assets? They're better off waiting until the Eagles cut him, because everyone knew the situation the Eagles were in. They knew that they had to cut him if they wanted to get that relief. And the Eagles said, you know what? I'd rather cut you, get that extra relief, than trade you and get a 5th or 6th, maybe a 7th round pick for you. The Eagles said, nah, we'll rather get that money. We'll rather have that cap relief. So the Eagles ended up working something out. Darius Slay ends up staying with the Philadelphia Eagles. He gets a 2-year extension, so we're going to have him for 3 years. But I don't think he sees the final year of that deal, if I'm being honest. He signs a 2-year extension worth $42 million, $23 million guaranteed. So he gets $23 million up front. That's really what it's about. They gave him $23 million to sit him down, to keep him happy. And the reality is, we probably gonna have Darius Slay for about 2 more years. And then after that, that gives the Eagles time to maybe draft another corner, groom another corner. That's whatever they want to do. And that takes me into the Eagles bringing in Greedy Williams and bringing in Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota brought in on a 1-year deal, $5 million. Greedy Williams brought in on a 1-year deal. The details to his contract hasn't really come out yet. But also, again, like you said, Weezy, Slay realized when he went to that market, because whoever was going to trade for him, he was looking for an extension. And they were like, okay, we'll trade for you, but we ain't paying you $17 million, $18 million. You ain't getting that. So he realized I'm better off staying. And it makes no sense. But Travis, hear me out on this when it comes to Slay's contract. It says a 2-year extension for $42 million, but he's not seeing that. That's just for the eyes. That's just for you guys. That's just for the agents. That's just for the media. He's not going to see that from the Philadelphia Eagles. He's not going to see that. You follow me here? They gave him $23 million upfront guaranteed. He'll see that. The Eagles can get out of that contract after that second season. After that second season, the Eagles probably going to trade him or move on. They can get out of that contract. Again, that extension, that big number you see, that $42 million, that's just to make the media, make the agents feel good and look good. Trust me, he ain't saying that $42 million. He won't. He'll be here for 2 more years. That's it. He won't make it to the 3rd year of that deal. He'll be here for 2 more seasons, 2023 and 2024, and that'll be it. Excuse me, you guys. So yeah, I mentioned Greedy Williams on a 1-year deal. Marcus Mariota brought in on a 1-year deal at backup quarterback. I like that. You brought in a backup that maintains continuity on what you do on offense. And Marcus Mariota still has his legs. He still has some speed on him. So bringing in Marcus Mariota to back up Jalen Hurts is like the perfect marriage, right? The perfect synergy. They play the position similarly, and it allows the Eagles to maintain what they do on offense. And Greedy Williams, a low-risk, high-reward type of situation, a young corner who had a really, really good 2021 campaign after being sidelined for his entire 2020 season with a stinger in his shoulder. Couldn't play the whole year because of some nerve damage. Came back in 2021, started a lot of games, played really well in 2021. 2022, started the year on IR, came back in the second half of the season, spent most of his time on special teams. So the Eagles got a depth piece in the cornerback room that could potentially grow, maybe into being maybe a starter, maybe at some point, maybe, but he's definitely a backup, and you can use him on special teams as well. And on top of that, he has extreme value when you think about him learning behind James Bradberry and Darius Slay, 2 of the smartest corners in the NFL. That's a masterclass for a lot of those young guys. And if a lot of those young guys can't up their game by playing with Bradberry, Slay, and Avonte Maddox, if a lot of those guys can't learn from them, then they just can't make it in this league, period. So we're going to see how Greedy Williams how he impacts the Philadelphia Eagles. And obviously, the 2 players left in limbo right now are Isaac Seumalo and CJ Gardner-Johnson. Isaac Seumalo, a player that I thought would have been signed by now, but clearly teams are skeptical about him, and I think it's because of his health. Isaac Seumalo has dealt with some wacky injuries over the past few seasons. He's dealt with a season-ending Liz Frank injury that was pretty severe. I think he dealt with that maybe last season or 2 seasons ago. So when you think about it from that perspective, his market isn't as lucrative as he thought it would be. And who knows, maybe the Eagles can find a way to bring Isaac Seumalo back on a team-friendly deal. Again, the longer these guys remain on the market, that number that they're looking for just continues to go down. Because all the money's getting used up. All the money's getting used up. All the money's getting used up. Make sure you guys smash that like button. I really appreciate all the love and the support, man. Hitting that like button is like currency. Hitting that like button is like really giving my YouTube channel a steroid. You know what I mean? You guys are truly part of this journey that we're on here. Make sure you guys lock in for sure. But yeah, Isaac Seumalo's market not panning out the way he thought it would. So we'll see how that pans out. Now, CJ Gardner-Johnson. I want to get into that. But before we do get into that, let's take a quick break, a quick 30-second break, you guys. Do not go anywhere. You guys have been locked in on Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge us to the game. Smash that like button. We'll be back in 24 seconds. I mean that. Welcome back, you guys. Appreciate it, man. We are here. You guys are locked in on Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge the game. I had to take a quick water break. I was getting a little parched. You dig me? So, yeah, let's hop into the main topic of the afternoon, of the morning, actually, depending where you are. Smash that like button. I appreciate y'all, man. We got 60 people in here. Wow, man. You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome. Let's do some quick shout outs, man. Let's do some quick shout outs, okay? So, shout out to my man Philly the podcast, aka Joe Castro, Spy City Chop, True Savage, Lee Bowen, Desert Eagle 90, my brother. How you feeling, man? Big Pickin', Eagles Realist, Mr. Rudy Poo, Travis Ryken, Wheezy the Dreaded Eagle, my guy, Marvin Truitt. Who else, man? GG Meta is in the building, Big Pickin'. Justin Visger. Who else, man? Who else we got in the building? Mary Armstrong. We outside. Y'all. Joe Ennis, what's going on? Dank Barito, my guy. Appreciate you, my man Ronald Knight. Chris Keeley. Zemethian Watson. Man, you guys are outside, man. I appreciate all the love and support, man. If you guys aren't commenting in the live chat, I appreciate y'all as well. Also, if you're watching this live stream or watching this video after the fact, wow, I appreciate you for locking in as well. I don't take y'all for granted because sometimes you're working, sometimes you got the kids, sometimes so many things are happening right now and you can't watch the live stream when you want to watch it, but you can watch it when you can watch it. And man, I appreciate y'all so much, man. Shout out to my man Rock the Artist as well, being in the content. So make sure you guys, again, if you're watching this in real time, if you're watching this after the fact, man, you guys are awesome. Shout out to Tony E, man. Appreciate y'all. So let's talk about CJ Gardner-Johnson. And this is going to be a very, some may call it controversial, some may call it engaging, right? But let's really break down the CJ Gardner-Johnson, the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson situation. CJ, GJ, CD Deuce. Let's really talk about it. Now, CJ Gardner-Johnson had a very, very productive year for the Philadelphia Eagles. Granted, he got hurt with the lacerated kidney, but he managed to play 12 games during the regular season, and he played every game in the playoffs. And through those 15 games played in totality, 12 in the regular season, 3 in the playoffs, he accumulated 6 interceptions. That's pretty good production. If you want to just talk about the regular season, he had 6 interceptions in 12 games. That's really good production, right? He's a playmaker, a ball hawk. He made plays, right? But a guy like CJ Gardner-Johnson, you know, he plays the game with the juice, a swagger. He plays the game with a certain moxie that some teams have a hard time reeling in. I like my players to have a little, swagger to them. You know what I mean? I like guys that talk a lot. You know, because if you back it up, that means everything. But you can't be talking if you don't back it up. But CJ Gardner-Johnson usually backed it up whenever he spoke, and that's why I liked him. I like the swagger. I like his personality. Cool dude, if you ask me, from a distance. I don't know him personally, but he just seemed like a fun guy to play with and play around, be around. And CJ Gardner-Johnson, when he got traded here from the Saints, he had 1 year left on his contract, so he was planning for something. He knew he wanted to get paid this offseason. That's what he wanted, and he was going to probably go to the highest bidder, right? So the Eagles knew we got to maximize what we have now. And they were able to do that. They made it to the Super Bowl. They didn't win it, but they maximized it as much as they could. And he did good. He made a nice name for himself in Philadelphia, right? To the point where fans want him back. I would love to have CJ Gardner-Johnson back. I think he can be. I think he isn't even in his prime yet. I think CJ Gardner-Johnson is just scratching. It's just scratching what he could be. I think his best years are literally in front of him, right? But again, let's add context. CJ Gardner-Johnson was a nickel turned safety. So he's right now currently living in the safety market right now. That's how teams see him, because that's how he made a name for himself this season, as a safety. So that begs the question, why hasn't CJ been signed yet? Why hasn't CJ Gardner-Johnson been picked up by a team? Why hasn't he signed to the highest bidder? Maybe it's because his market isn't what he thought it would be. Maybe it isn't what we thought it would be. Because remember, a lot of people thought, the rumor was that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson would be franchise tagged. That was the assumption. But once that franchise tag deadline passed and he wasn't franchise tagged, that told us that told us where Howie Roseman and the Eagles saw him. That told us how they saw him. That told us where they saw or viewed his value at. Weezy, you're correct. But what I'm talking about in the NFL. In the NFL, he's been a nickel corner. And then he transitioned to safety. I'm not talking about college, Weezy. I follow you, though. I feel you. But he played safety for 1 year in the NFL. For 1 year. So I say all that to say, his market isn't what he thought it would be. Now, why? Why isn't a guy like CJ commanding money like a Jesse Bates? Jesse Bates was the premier safety on the market. 26 years old, played for Cincinnati for 5 years, got franchise tag last year, and he plays for the Atlanta Falcons. He received a 4-year deal worth $64 million, an annual average of $16 million a season for Jesse Bates III. That was the market right there. The Eagles got patient. Again, remember I mentioned this. Follow me here. Howie Roseman didn't franchise tag him. Why? The franchise tag for the safety this season was what? $14.1 or $14.2 million. You follow me here? So if they decided that now we're not going to franchise tag you at $14 million, that tells you what? They don't think he's worth $14 million per season. Because if he was, they would have franchise tagged him and then worked something out. And Zemethian, you're correct. We're going to get into all those details. Trust me. We're going to get into all those details. Right now, we're just talking about the business. I appreciate that, Zemethian. Jesse Bates is a bigger body. I like Jesse Bates. That's how I want my safeties built. But again, we're going to get into that. But I want to focus on the business right now. You follow me? So, it's from a business perspective, these organizations are looking at it like, okay, especially at the safety position. Remember, keep this in mind. I don't want to lose you guys because I don't want it to feel like I'm jumping all over the place, but I want to make sure I check every box for you guys. I want you guys to really see the full scope, the full solar system of what I'm trying to show you, right? Jesse Bates signed to Atlanta for a 4-year deal, $64 million, with an annual average of $16 million. That's the market for an elite safety right there. $16 million. That's the market. The next closest guy was Von Bell. He played for Cincinnati as well. He now plays for Carolina. It's funny that both Cincinnati safeties went to the NFC South, but I digress. Von Bell, safety, 28 years old, signed to the Carolina Panthers. 3 years, $22.5 million, an annual average of $7.5 million. You see that discrepancy between Jesse Bates' contract and Von Bell's contract? Do you see the discrepancy between Jesse Bates' annual salary versus Von Bell's annual salary? $16 million versus $7.5 million. I'll take it a step further. Juan Thornhill, a safety, signed, 3-year deal, $21 million, annual average of $7 million. Donovan Wilson signed to the Cowboys, 3-year deal, $21 million, $7 million annual average. Jimmy Ward, a safety, 31 years old, signed a 2-year deal with the Houston Texans, $13 million, $6.5 million annual average. Marcus Epps, former Philadelphia Eagle, 27 years old, signed to the Las Vegas Raiders, 2-year deal, $12 million, $6 million annual average. You see, all these teams are skipping past CJ Gardner-Johnson. They're skipping past him. Think about that. These organizations are looking at it like this. Besides the fact that you talk a lot and you tweet a lot, and we don't like that, and that's probably hurting your market. Besides that point, the fact of the matter is these organizations don't want to pay big money to a safety unless you're elite, unless you have a proven track record of being elite. Jesse Bates III has a proven track record of being elite, an elite safety. That's why he got elite money. That's why he got above market value. That's why he got above the franchise tag value. Remember, the franchise tag is $14 million for a safety. Jesse Bates got $16 million annual average from the Atlanta Falcons, $2 million above that. So if the Eagles didn't franchise tag CJ Gardner-Johnson at $14 million, they clearly don't see him valued that high. As a matter of fact, other teams don't see CJ Gardner-Johnson as being valued that high. Look at how the other safeties got paid in comparison to Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates got $16 million annual average. The next closest guy got $7.5 million. That's a $9 million discrepancy. So when you think about it from that perspective, where is CJ Gardner-Johnson's market? These organizations are saying, I'm either going to pay big money to the elite guy, or I'm going to pay reasonable money to the average or mediocre guy. The guys that are in between, you're not seeing guys getting, these teams are not dedicating 8 figures to a safety unless you're elite. CJ Gardner-Johnson, as good of a season that he had, he's not an elite safety just yet. I think he has potential to be that. I think he can be that. But also, there's so many things working against him with that. The market, how he conducts business, and the fact that teams are literally skipping over you. The safety market is not what it was, or not what he thought it was. They're literally skipping over him. Again, Jesse Bates got $16 million annual average. Von Bell, $7.5 million. Juan Thornhill, $7 million annual average. Donovan Wilson, $7 million annual average. I'm not saying he's mediocre, you guys. Please don't get me misconstrued. I'm not saying he's mediocre. I don't think a lot of these guys are mediocre. I don't think Von Bell's mediocre. I don't think Juan Thornhill's mediocre. I don't think Donovan Wilson is mediocre. I don't think Jimmy Ward is mediocre. I don't think that. But the point I'm trying to get across is these teams are not going to break the bank for you, especially if you're a safety, unless you're elite. It's the safety position. Follow me here. Every position on the football field has a value, right? Certain teams value different positions differently, but for the most part, there are certain positions. There are certain positions that no matter what team you play for, command the most money. In my humble opinion, there are 5 positions that dictate winning and losing at a higher clip than any other position. There are 5 positions, in my opinion, that dictate winning more than any other position. And I'm going to name them for you right now. It's quarterback. And this is in no particular order, by the way. It's quarterback. It's edge rusher. It's wide receiver. It's corner. And it's left tackle. Those are the 5 key positions that dictate winning more than any other position on the football field. You need an edge rusher to disrupt the elite quarterback. You need an elite edge rusher to disrupt elite quarterbacks. You need an elite corner to disrupt elite wide receivers. You need an elite left tackle to deal with elite edge rushers. Basically, the offensive line. So let's just say offensive line. Teams are spending money on quarterback, edge rusher, wide receiver, corner, and offensive line. Period. If you're not in that position group, you're not going to get the big money unless you're elite. Unless you're elite. It's just that simple. And clearly the market, clearly these other teams don't view CJ as an elite safety. I'm not saying that he's not a good player. CJ Gardner-Johnson is a really, really good player. And he showed that. And I think his best years are in front of him. I think he is just tapping into the reserves of his talent. I think he's just getting started. This is not a CJ Gardner-Johnson bashing session. This is not what that is. I don't want you guys to get me misconstrued at all. I like CJ Gardner-Johnson. I want him back in Philly. But money talk. BS walks. And with all the tweeting and all that stuff, it's not really helping his market. In my humble opinion, when you are dealing with business, when you're trying to get your money, I don't think tweeting is ever, or I don't think running to social media is ever the answer. That's my humble opinion. Maybe I'm old school in that way. I'm only 28 years old, but I don't believe in pillow talking. You follow me here? I don't believe in spilling the beans. You never want to get caught with your zipper down. When I'm dealing with business, when I'm dealing with money, I'm not talking to everybody about it. I don't care if the negotiations are going good or bad. Because at the end of the day, other teams are watching how you conduct yourself through your negotiations. CJ already has a reputation of being a rowdy customer. Right? That's the reality. This isn't a secret. He already has a reputation of being someone who speaks his mind regularly. We already get that. Sorry about that, you guys. Had a call. Sorry about that. But again, we cooking right now. I appreciate y'all, man. We cooking right now. Look, I want CJ to get his money. I really do. But unless you're one of the elite, like a Jesse Bates, they're not going to break the bank on you, man. They're just not. Look, even Jordan Poyer is returning to Buffalo at the age of 31, 32. He knows the market isn't friendly to him right now, so he's going back to Buffalo, where he probably gonna get the most money, probably the most guarantees, and he understands the system, and that's just where he wants to be. You know, the bottom line is, man, Marcus Epps, $12 million contract for 2 years, $6 million annual average. Do I think CJ Gardner-Johnson is better than Marcus Epps? Yes. So that's where it starts for me. I believe CJ Gardner-Johnson's annual average, I believe his market is at about between 6 and 9 million. 6 and 9 million. I think that's where his annual average is going to be. That's where his contract is going to live. Between 6 to 9 million annual average. Not the total contract, but 6 to 9 million annual average. Now, if I'm CJ GJ, and if I'm personally not comfortable with the way the safety market is panning out, I would take a shorter deal and then re-up when I turn, 27, 28, and you can get big money then. That's all. Take a shorter deal, take a 2-year or 3-year deal at I don't know, 8 million. 8 million annual average. Take a $6, $7, $8 million deal on annual average. So if I'm CJ GJ, I'll take a 2-year deal at 16 million total. That's 8 million a year. And then at that point, you re-up when the safety market is a bit more friendly for you. But right now, Jessie Bates getting big money at 16 million annual average, and then it falls dramatically to Von Bell at 7.5 million annual average. Look at the discrepancy between Jessie Bates' contract and Von Bell's contract, you guys. It's not going to work for CJ. That's like the market is not friendly to him right now. He's either going to they're not paying him 14 million, so the number drops from there. Period. And none of these other guys got 8 figures. They all got 7 figures. So right now, CJ Gardner-Johnson is looking like a 7-figure safety. I think CJ deserves about, at least based off the market. Based off the market, I think CJ is going to end up resigning. I think he's going to end up signing somewhere on about maybe 7 to 8 million annually. We'll see how that thing pans out, though. We'll see. But ultimately, you guys are bringing up some good points. The fact of the matter is, the Eagles' defense is starting to look pretty decent again, right? The Eagles' defense is starting to look pretty decent. Joe Ennis, I like that. 7 million per year, 3 years with incentives. Yeah. You know, if I'm CJ GJ, take a shorter deal, re-up when the contract ends, hit the market again. If you don't like the numbers right now. You know? It's just that simple. Go to a situation where you can maximize your skill set, like the Philadelphia Eagles, and run it back. You know what I mean? Bradberry came back. Slay is here. You know what I mean? Fletcher came back. BG came back. You dig me? You might as well be a part. You might as well be on the right side of history, my guy. And again, I don't want this to get misconstrued as a CJ GJ bashing session. We are talking business. That's it. We're talking money. We're talking dollars and cents. That's all, you guys. Remember, business, there is no hard feelings. You can't take none of it personal. It's business. But clearly, CJ, based off his Twitter posts, he's beginning to take it personally. And I think that's where the problems are beginning to grow for him. He's beginning to take the business personally. And that's not what he needs to do. It's just that simple. But nonetheless, you guys, man, this has been a hell of a live stream. Let's get to some of y'all chats. Also, real quickly, this defense is starting to take shape for new defensive coordinator, Sean Desai, is it not? You feel me? I like this. I like this. I like the way the defense is panning out for Sean Desai. I like that Howie Roseman is giving him a pretty decent foundation to play with for the 2023 season. It would have been real bad if he would have got here and he would have been dealing with nothing but rookies in the DB room, so on and so forth. Like, I like that Howie Roseman is giving Sean Desai a fair shot at success. The same way he gave Jalen Hurts a fair shot by going to get A.J. Brown and, drafted Devontae, drafted Landon Dickerson, and, so on and so forth, right? Bringing in Brian Johnson as the quarterback coach, then making him the offensive coordinator, bringing in Nick Sirianni, an offensive-minded coach. When you had Shane Steichen, bring him in. I like that Howie Roseman is starting to be very smart about who he brings in and why he brings them in. I like that Howie Roseman made the moves he made to give this defense a solid shot at running it back, because this offense is only going to get better. Jalen Hurts going to take his game to another level. Devontae going to take it to another level. Dallas Goedert, and the offensive line is still the offensive line. A.J. Brown, man, imagine if he take it to another level, right? So the bottom line is this offense is going to be the offense, and I'm really excited to see what the running back room does. I think that's probably the most uncertain part of the offense, but I'm curious to see what that looks like. But overall, though, I love what Howie Roseman has done for the defense, bringing back Bradberry, Darius Slay, you know what I mean? Where he's working on CJ GJ. He brought in Greedy Williams, another DB to play with. You bring back Fletcher Cox, a 3-tech, a 4-eye guy that can help Jordan Davis as well. You know what I mean? You bring back BG, a guy on the edge that provides quality depth that's going to get you definitely at this point in his career, probably going to get you at minimum 8 to 9 sacks. He already got you 11 sacks on a career year. So Sean Desai, his situation is starting to take shape, starting to bloom. And he walked into a pretty good situation, and he has a really good GM. That's the reality of the matter. Philly D says, Eagles have several young, great talent who hasn't peaked. I agree. Philly D, who are those players to you? Philly D, who, in your opinion, give me 2 players on defense who's going to take it to another level? Give me 2 players on defense who you think is going to break out next year. Zemethian Watson says, I like that boy Darius Rush, him behind Slay and JB, 6'2", 200 pounds, ran a 4.36, and he mirrors really well. I'll be honest with you guys, I personally had to do more research on these draftees, on these prospects. I got to do more research. I haven't really had the opportunity to really dig too deep. So I'm relying on you guys to tell me who are some of the top prospects the Philadelphia Eagles should target. Melvin Gilmore, CJ GJ is going to be back. I hope so. True Savage, I'm more than happy with the signing so far. Same. I'm very happy with the way things panned out. Big picking, not bashing, just business. Facts, man. This ain't about feelings. You know what I mean? Facts over feelings. Philly D, for a 20-year-old, you hold yourself well, my guy. Thank you, Philly D. That means a lot to me, man. I try my best to, not just live by example, but I try my best to be God-fearing. I try my best to do the work and be diligent and give you guys the best version of me and give you guys a good product. That's what it's really about for me. I want to give you guys a good product. Travis Reichen, accept that linebacker as expected. Yeah, the Eagles don't care about linebacker. We clearly see that. They let Kaiser White and TJ Edwards walk. Wow. D. Aldridge, CJ want that bag. He does. He dag, but he do. But the more he tweet, more money falling out of the bag. I'm telling you, man. That social media stuff be getting people caught up, man. And remind you, I'm 28. CJ is what? 25? Let me make sure I got that right. CJ Gardner-Johnson is 25? Yeah, he's 25 years old. You know what I mean? I'm older than him. You feel me? So, and my younger brothers are 23. So, you know what I mean? Y'all put that in perspective. Melvin Gilmore says, "What up, bro? I've been listening. I've been listening at the beginning, bro. You are telling the truth about the whole situation. Yeah, I appreciate you, man, for locking in from the very beginning, and I also appreciate you for just showing love, Melvin. That means a lot to me. The bottom line is the Eagles are in a pretty good situation. Howie Roseman has been handling the business like a G, like a mafia boss. He's been telling them, hey, listen, okay, you want the money from me? You want the bag from my side? Okay, well, look, how about this? You go outside and you tell me how much they willing to pay you. Because I ain't willing to pay you what you think you're worth. But you go out there and they're going to tell you what you're worth. And then you come back to me. I'll be here. Okay? You go outside and you ask them how much you're worth. Because you think you're worth more than what I think. Go find out what they think. And then we'll have a conversation. Come to Jesus, okay? That's just the reality. That's just the reality. It's just the reality, man. Tone, Doug Cole Green, my man, welcome to the show. He says, Tone, you're on point about everything. Howie acknowledges the talent. That's why he brought him in, but he knows his worth at this point also. Exactly. And look, here's the thing, right? In negotiations, it's always smarter for you to aim high. It's always like if you go into negotiations, right? And you know for the most part, they're only willing to really pay you maybe 10. But you say, listen, I need 15 for my services. I need 15 for my services. And they say, we can't do that. And then at that point, negotiations starting to happen. They start at 10, you at 15, and eventually y'all meet somewhere in the middle. You pushed for 15, but you knew you wasn't going to get it. But negotiating wise, you actually got more than you expected, or that you got them to pay more than what they wanted to pay. It's all about negotiations, right? So I don't get mad at players for trying to break the bank in free agency. I don't get mad at that. I get mad when I feel like, okay, now you're starting to be a little bit more, you're starting to be a little ignorant to what's actually happening in front of you. You're ignoring reality. Well, let me not say this. I don't get mad. I get peeved. I get peeved when I see certain people, and it's not just players. This is in life. I get peeved when I see people overestimate their value when they see the writing on the wall. Again, when you go into negotiations for anything, you should always aim for the biggest number you can. Aim for it, or aim for the most reasonable, biggest number you can, because you want to get them to pay more than what they want to pay, but still get what you want at the same time. Right? Like I said, if you go into negotiations and they plan on paying you 10, but you go in there saying, I need 15. Matter of fact, I'll put you this way. If you go into negotiations and they plan on paying you 10, but you want 20, next thing you know, now y'all negotiate, y'all go back and forth, y'all might land on 14. Y'all might land on 15. That's a good number because you got them to pay more than what you wanted. I mean, more than what they wanted to pay. And you still got more than what you expected. You follow me? So it's all about negotiating, man. That's all it is. Philly D with the $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much, my man. I appreciate the love and support, dog. That means a lot to me. I'm glad you enjoy the content. I'm going to continue to do my best. I really appreciate you guys, man. El Capitan with the $2 super chat. What do you think we'll do at linebacker? Wagner, an option? That's a good question. Wagner is coming off of an all-pro year, right, or a Pro Bowl year. So Wagner still has a pretty hefty price tag. And I don't think Howie Roseman is going to spend big money on a linebacker in free agency. I think, if anything, he's going to remind you guys, we're only in March. The draft hasn't even happened yet. After March, that's where Howie Roseman starts to really get freaky deaky with the contracts. He's going to find some players that are still out there that want to prove it, so on and so forth. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna finesse it. So I wouldn't be surprised if they draft a linebacker, not in the first, maybe in the second or third. I don't know. I know they're going to draft the linebacker. They're going to draft at least one linebacker for sure. I think they're also going to sign one in free agency, a cheap one that got on a 1-year deal. I think they're going to do that as well. So I think that's what's going to happen. But I don't think Bobby Wagner is an option. I don't think that's a realistic option, Capitan. But thank you for the $2 super chat, my brother. It means a lot to me. And also shout out to Philly D with the $4.99 super chat. You guys are awesome. All right. Let's think about this. Philly D says, I agree about social media destroys anyone who talks negative. Yeah, man. You can't be out here talking crazy. You cannot be out here talking crazy. Travis, it's all good, my man. Travis, it's all good. Don't worry. It's all good, my guy. You being here is a gift enough, my man. I appreciate y'all. Thank you. Weezy, the Dreaded Eagle, says, I'd like to see Josh Jobe more. All those guys are going to have an opportunity. Jason Murdoch says, I want to see McPherson. Again, all those guys are going to have an opportunity. Delco Green says, man, Howie's doing it again, and the draft hasn't even begun yet. Heck, you still have the B group free agents still out there. Exactly. Philly D and Dablon boy believe Hurts and Smith and Dean and Williams are going to take their game to another level in 2023. I like that. I like those odds. I like those odds. Matthew Peters says Bates has been playing safety his whole NFL career. Exactly. That's a fact. That's a fact. A lot of you guys are talking about Jalen Mills being released. That's interesting. But I don't think that's even an option, if I'm being honest with you. Joe Ennis says he wants a bag like Jesse Bates and or Von Bell. Right. And what Von Bell got is a good contract. $7 million a season. That's a good number. I mean, for me, like you paying me $7 million a year. I don't care what you need me to do. You need me to cut the grass. You need me to massage your feet. What you need me to do? You need me to take the kids to school. You paying me $7.5 million a year. Hey, listen, man. I'll wash your back. I'll wash your back. I'll wash your dirty drawers. $7.5 million a year. Listen. Hey, listen, man. Don't get me out here talking crazy. You pay me $7.5 million a year. Listen, I'll pave your driveway. whatever you want me to do. What you need, tell me. Listen. You want chocolate chip cookies at 4 a.m? I'll make them. What you need? $7.5 million. What? Drug money. I can buy it what you want. Oh, man, I got me in my bag now, man. I appreciate y'all. What time is it? 12:20? All right, I'm about to get off here pretty soon, man. Wow, man, this is fun. I agree. I miss going live with y'all. Travis Riken says, what positions won't you get mad at 10th and 30th? Well, I think we're going to trade one of those picks, but to your point, though, I would like a defensive lineman because remember, you brought back Slay and Bradberry. So I feel like they're going to draft a D lineman in the first round. Actually, this team is pretty good all the way around. I wouldn't be surprised if they go best available. They're going to go best available. If they stay at 10, they're going to go best available. It's just that simple. But D-line, corner, that's how I'm looking at it. D-line. But if you draft a corner in the first round, will he be able to get on the field? I don't know. I don't know. After you paid Bradberry and Slay, I don't know if you're going to go corner in the first round. I don't think that's smart. But I think the Eagles are going to go D-line in that first round. It's just remember they lost Javon Hargrave. Hey, listen, man. Bijan, a lot of people look, man. Best available. What if they do draft Bijan? Because I could totally see Howie Roseman drafting a running. Look, I can totally see Howie Roseman drafting a running back right in the first round, I could see him drafting Bijan Robinson, maximizing him through the first 5 years of his contract, and then letting him walk after that. Because remember, Howie Roseman doesn't pay running backs big money. I can totally see Howie Roseman drafting Bijan Robinson, running him into the ground for the first 5 years, for those 5 years of his rookie deal, and then saying, all right, you can go ahead and walk. I can totally see him doing that. Totally. But then again, Bijan, once you get to that fourth year of that deal, that rookie deal, then he's gonna start looking for an extension. So at most, you might get 3 solid, maybe 4 years of Bijan Robinson if you draft him, and then you probably got to trade him or move on from him. Right? But overall, again, I wouldn't be surprised if Howie Roseman draft Bijan Robinson and then just run him into the ground those first few years and then trade him or move on. I wouldn't be surprised about that. Jason Murdoch says, we just did that with Sanders. Exactly. The only difference is Sanders was a second-round pick, so he only had 4 years on his contract. He only had 4 years on his deal, whereas though Bijan Robinson, as a first-rounder, if he's drafted in the first round, he had the 4 years plus the 5th-year option. But remember, after that 3rd year of that contract, players can start to demand an extension. And we all know these running backs, they are real big on trying to get their money as soon as possible. Remember what Ezekiel Elliott did to the Cowboys? He whacked them. Ezekiel Elliott is still the second highest paid running back in the NFL. He got cut now, so not anymore. But you know what I mean? Like, you got to be careful with that. But I trust Howie Roseman to make the best decision possible. Because especially if Bijan ball out, you got to be mindful of that. Got to be real mindful of how that kind of situation pans out. Because you draft Bijan, you're probably going to get 3 years with him at the most before you start asking for money. And then you got to decide what you're going to do. And some players hold out. You don't want it to get messy. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if Howie Roseman said, we're going to draft him, maximize him, try to make our offense lethal, win the Super Bowl, and, we move on. It's a gamble for sure. It's definitely a gamble. Or you go D-line and have your D lineman for the next 5 to 10 years. It gets interesting. But I think if Jalen Carter's there, I think they draft him. But you got to be like, Jalen Carter's making me more and more nervous, man. Like, the misdemeanor was one thing, but now you showing up to your pro day 10 pounds overweight or 9 pounds overweight. You couldn't even finish drills. You had almost no bend. Like, Jalen Carter's making me a little nervous, but I think he's worth the risk. If you ask me, I think he's worth the risk. Travis Rankin says, I didn't have $1, but I had one like to give. Now it's 12. Even at your God bless, take care of y'all. Man, I appreciate y'all, man. Thank y'all. You guys have been awesome. Jason Murdoch says Westbrook and Shady, the only ones that got contracts from us. Yeah, but remember, at that time, Howie Roseman wasn't really the one deciding that. He wasn't making that decision per se. I think at that time, when it came to Westbrook, that was Joe Banner. And then with Shady, I think, that was a Chip Kelly situation. Well, I'm trying to remember. Shady got his contract, then he got traded to the Bills. So, yeah, regardless, man, it's going to be interesting to see. But I think the Eagles are going to go D-line, but most likely they're going to go best available. They're going to go best available at that 10 spot. But will they trade back? You never know, man. It's going to be exciting. But I'm going to get out of here, you guys, man. I appreciate y'all so much for locking in on the content. You guys have been spectacular. You guys are awesome. Continue to smash that like button, man. Stay engaged. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the YouTube channel. That goes a long way with me. I'm your guy, Tone DeShields II. You guys have been locked in on Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. One love, stay humble, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay hungry.